So, hello.
Hello.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, if that's okay. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything prepared. It's all I'm expecting is just an update on the Vajra Academy, but it would be great to be able to share a conversation about that because it's just the probably one of the best pieces of news, I've had in several years, especially considering
That's
how
kind.
dire. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of you. Yeah. Yeah, we survived. That
yes,
is the positive message.
yes.
And when was last time? I think about a year ago.
Yep.
So everything was very uncertain. So yeah, it is. I mean, it could be inspiring for other people if things go wrong. And most probably people will think, oh, that won't happen to me. No, we're not like that. We will, no, here things go well.
Yeah.
And then suddenly unexpected things occur and you find yourself in the midst of huge problems. And we just escaped. It could have been all gone. But yeah, I can explain more about it. So I don't know what is the format you would like to proceed. Do you want me to start with a brush up about what we did so far and what went wrong, and then continue with how we solved the issues?
Sure. Yes, I think the three parts. The one is first off, just a reminder, what is the Vajra Academy? I mean, the changemaker school concept it's all too rare out there. That we have like what we call a satellite, or what do they call them? Like you'll have an art school in Minneapolis and a STEM school, but you'll have everything else is just the mishmash of general education, and you just feel like the kids going through it don't aren't inspired into following a mission, whereas the changemaker
Mhm.
schools are. Yeah, I mean, having kids focus, and it doesn't even have to be specifically environmental, it sounds like. But so just a reminder what the Vajra Academy is, and then
Yeah.
the brief on the circumstances that led to a crisis and whether it would survive or not, and then what happened to bring it back and thrive now. If that can be done, that's what I'm after.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I can repeat part of the slideshow that I showed you last time,
Sure.
and then continue with from where we ended last time.
Yes.
So that, yeah,
Yes. I
okay
just
then.
issued the sharing, so
Yeah, I'll share. Let me see. Um,
hey, there it is.
yeah,
Hmm.
is it clear?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay then. Well, as written here on the screen, my name is Maarten Olthof. I'm the founder and chairman of the Vajra Foundation Holland, and we work closely together with a similar NGO in Nepal, the Vajra Foundation Nepal, obviously. I'm an ecologist, and I've traveled a lot with groups to Nepal doing eco trackings in the mountains. And what I learned is that the deforestation was going on in a very rapid pace. And as a biologist, I thought when I came across the solar cooker, could this help to fight deforestation? So I collected some funds and started demonstrations in the center of Kathmandu, the Durbar Square. You see the Hindu temple in the background, and to the right is the ancient royal palace. And started donating cookers to villagers in the mountains. And all those cookers worked, no doubt about that, but the acceptance was extremely poor. And the question came up, what happened and why don't people accept them? And I came to the conclusion that the need just wasn't high enough. And on top of that, villagers, they work on the land in the daytime. And when they come home, then the sun doesn't shine anymore. So solar cooker is not for them. Anyway, not in this format. And quite frustrated, I visited a solar cooker conference in Coimbatore in India. That was in 1997. And I wanted to learn more about successful projects. So the question for me was to find projects that had proven to be successful over a number of years. Not a startup, not something about to start or anything like that. Successful over a number of years. And what I found is that at least for the Nepal situation, there were 2 areas where solar cooking could be successful. There was a large community of refugees from Bhutan in eastern Nepal. And in refugee situations, solar cookers could prove to be useful, good. Furthermore, areas with extreme scarcity of fuel, cooking fuel. It's quite obvious, maybe, but I tried to allocate 2 areas in Nepal, one with refugees and one a semi-arid, dry area in the mountains. And I found them, let me see, that is this picture, near Biratnagar, in the lower right of the map. There was a huge refugee camp. In fact, there were 7 camps in total, with more than 100,000 refugees. And then Trans-Himalaya region, that is the north of Nepal. So that is behind the range with the 6, 7, 8,000ers. And Mustang, former kingdom, is one example from that. So I had to make a choice, and I quickly understood that for a small NGO, a trans-Himalayan area like Mustang is logistically far beyond our capacity. So I decided to focus on the Japa district near Biratnagar. So I traveled to that district and knocked the door of the UNHCR, Oxfam, and Lutheran World Federation. Everything is, how to say, is arranged in details. It's not like you just walk in a camp and you do your thing. You need permission for that, and it's quite bureaucratic. So I got permission to start with just a few cookers in one camp. I quickly passed through this map because first of all we have to respect, of course, areas that are suitable for solar cooking. So if you look in Europe, my country here, tiny country of the Netherlands, is not suitable, maybe in the summer, but that is not enough. But India and Nepal, they are. So there I understood that it should possibly work in Nepal. So then I started to learn about the different types of cookers. And for the refugee camps, so I hear an echo now. So it's gone. Yeah. For the refugee camps, this cooker on the top seemed logical because it is called the refugee cooker. Very cheap, not very powerful also, and while it is more for dry areas in like sub-Sahara countries or like that. In Nepal, after, for instance, in the monsoon, they're completely useless. On top of that, you need plastic bags, and they have to be from very specific quality, not easily available in Nepal. Then I'm probably telling what many of the people who are watching or listening already are familiar with, but I just want to explain the process that we went through. Here we have the box cooker in the lower left. They work, there is nothing wrong with that. Only in refugee camps with more than 50% of the population consisting of children who play football, and then this box cooker with mirrors and glass pane, they were too vulnerable. And then we have the SK14 on the lower right. Well, at first we thought they will be too expensive, and that was true. But then after testing them, they seem to be so effective that 2 families could share one cooker. 2 families means 12 to 14 people. And that would mean that the parabolic SK14 would become cheaper than the box cooker. Here you see my friend Dipagadia. I think most people know him. He's a real eco-guru with his late wife, Shiring, who really inspired him and influenced him. I was lucky to meet her. And then the former chairman of the Vajra Foundation, Nepal. Okay, the SK14. We worked hard to collect funds from different backgrounds and permission to expand our project. And we found both the money and the permission. The permission at first was only for still 1 camp, to equip 1 camp with solar cookers. We built a factory and had refugees participate in the production process so to make them familiar. And we had to do more, and here's a very crucial thing, because I've seen a lot of cookers in the past without a hay box, and sometimes even without black pans. And well, a cooker needs a hay box and black pans. They're just 2 sides of the same coin. One cannot go without the other. Moreover, the hay box is quite cheap. It doesn't really matter how you design them. Here on the upper left, you see baskets that are already in use in Nepal, available from the market. And we put straw in them, but later on it was much faster to make them ourselves, as you see on the top right, from plywood. And then we used fleece blankets. Worked very well. And that way, 2 families, as you see below, could really use 1 cooker. They each had their own hay box, they had their own pans, and so they would switch one after the other and cook their different items for the dinner. And the total cost, although the parabolic is quite expensive, of course, but if we calculate it per person, the total cost came to $12 per refugee, all in. That means with the hay box, with the pans, the cooker, the training, the painting of the the pots and everything. So that was quite convincing, because otherwise the refugees would either chop wood, which was forbidden, but what do you do if you don't have any means to do your cooking? Or what also happened is that the UNHCR provided kerosene, which was in fact more expensive than the $12 per refugee for the solar cooker. So even UNHCR became quite interested. We had to train the people. So when we had equipped the first camp successfully, we were allowed to expand to the 6 other camps. And that was quite a challenge to train all the people, because first of all, nobody was used to cook outside. There's also belief that the food can be spoiled by evil spirits and things like that. And technically, it was difficult for them, because most of them were illiterate. They only were used to cook above firewood or a kerosene stove. So we needed proper training, and we did that in a pyramid, trained a trainer and so on. We didn't train all the refugees ourselves. But every camp had its own factory and its own training hall. Furthermore, follow-up was needed. Did the cookers work according to plan? Were the refugees satisfied? Did they face any problems? Could we improve the design, etc.? There was damage repair was needed, etc. So by monitoring and evaluating and incorporating the user feedback, we could improve the cookers, and by learning from our mistakes. I think that is a very important thing that made the project successful, and also inspired the refugees, that they were listened to. And here we see an old stand. I think we will see some more cookers, but we replaced the stand because with the wind this wasn't stable enough. The iron didn't work in the humid conditions of the Nepal climate, so we replaced it with either galvanized steel or aluminium. And maybe for Westerners, highly educated, it's not very difficult to understand what it means to place the parabolic perpendicular to the sun rays, but for the refugees, this was just abracadabra. So we inserted a needle and told them, just make sure that the shadow is as short as possible. And then it became a sort of game, and that worked very well. Okay, it took us 10 years, so that's a long time. It's not a matter of quick success. And we were also sort of pioneers at the time, because I started with my foundation in 1997. But okay, in 2007, 85% of the 85,000 refugees in 7 camps were cooking with the sun. Therefore, we had to distribute 7,000 cookers and the double number of hay boxes, and 4 times that number of pans. And at a certain point, an expert, this Mr. Dipagadia, that I have already mentioned, said, "Hey guys, did you know that you have created the biggest solar cooker project of its kind on a world scale?" And we didn't, but it had become a fact. What you see on this picture, the bigger picture, is a competition. That is what we also did. We wanted to increase the efficiency of the cooker, and you could see that people tried all sorts of ways to cook faster. But the one who did that well was the winner, and the first prize was a pressure cooker to again cook faster. And that way it became also fun. People were excited about it. And when we had established the full capacity, that was, let's say, 80% of the population, because you can see there are trees. Some huts were in the shadow, or there wasn't enough space for the cookers. So 85,000 was really the maximum. But with that number, annually, we could save the exhaust of about 20,000 tons of carbon dioxide. And on top of that, the use of 15,000 tons of firewood, or the equivalent being 1.3 million liters of kerosene. The return on investment was about 2 years. Well, that is not too bad. The cookers lasted much longer, so it was really beneficial. We had some universities doing research about the sustainability of the cookers, the pollution in various fields, and compare it to kerosene stoves, and the solar cooker came out as far better, of course. Yeah, that was 2007, and we wanted to take a next step, because the SK14 can be used in this kind of situation, but not in villages and not easily on a larger scale. We had already built about 9 schools in Nepal, and we decided to build our own school, the Vajra Academy. The other ones were handed over to the government, so they were not run by ourselves. But in 2007 we opened this school, which was the first eco-friendly, green and eco-friendly school in Nepal. As you can see, there are institutional parabolics on the roof, 5 sets, so 10 in total, cheflet dishes, a solar steam kitchen, so the steam is produced on the roof and through pipelines transported to the ground floor where the kitchen was located. And this installation could easily cook food for up to 150 children per day. And of course this was very inspiring for students to help them grow up and think in terms of solutions rather than thinking in terms of problems. There wasn't only a solar kitchen, sorry, but there was also a biogas installation. The solar installation came from India, so not from a country far away from India. Biogas was already working on extensive scale in Nepal, quite successful. And we could use the biogas on cloudy days when there would be no sun. And for the biogas, production of biogas, we needed dung, so there was a dairy farm, milk goes to the students, dung goes to the biogas. There were organic gardens, there were herbal gardens, so it became a very holistic approach to education. And that's why in 2017, the Ashoka Foundation declared the Vajra Academy to be a changemaker school. There are about 300 changemaker schools in the world. And which schools become a changemaker school? Well, if they deliver the type of education that is needed in the 21st century. I think I already said that in the world there are about 300. So we are still the only changemaker school in Nepal, and that was a big boon, of course. It gave us a lot of confidence. Here you see a group of students. There are paying students from middle-class families, but there are also students with a scholarship, partly sponsored from the Netherlands, but also by the school itself. And I don't know the exact number, it's somewhere between 500 and 1,000 students that have received a scholarship. And a scholarship, of course, only for those families who cannot afford to send their children to a better than average school. Then another step was to organize the first solar expedition in the Himalayas to the sacred lake of Bhairab on the border between Nepal and Tibet. That was quite a challenge. I had organized many trekkings in Nepal and guided them, but this was the first one with solar cookers. Up to an altitude of 14,000 feet, which comes around 4,300 meters. There were 25 group members, also some Americans, James Dean Conklin and his band. I think Luther, you know him. And for that we needed even more staff. So for the 25 group members, we needed 40 Nepali staff. Of course, for them, this was the first time to cook food with solar cookers. So we had to train them. We had to select the right type of food suitable to cook with solar cookers. We had to adapt the cooking times. So it was quite a challenge, but we did it. We succeeded. A bit risky, of course, because it's weather in the mountains. You're never sure. Sometimes you need a little bit of luck as well. 2 years later, we wanted to open the Vajra Eco Resort, which you see here. The concept was based on the concept of the Vajra Academy. I thought, why not? We start in Nepal is visited by so many trekkers and nature lovers. Why don't we build a resort that has the same principles? Here you see the restaurant, bungalows, and a huge dish on the roof, 90 square meters. That is an MWS dish, an advanced type, much more powerful, and compared to the cooker on the Vajra Academies, it is much more powerful, and it allows heat storage in oil. A reason why you could use the heat in the evening or night for cooking as well. Like the Vajra Academy, there was biogas, organic gardens, there was a dairy farm, there were even windmills. So imagine that you sit on the roof terrace and can see the place where the milk comes from. You can see the cows, you can see the vegetable gardens where the organic vegetables come from. So, but then something terrible happened. Some of you may remember that 2015 there were two major earthquakes in Nepal, one in April and one in May, and hundreds of aftershocks. 10,000 people lost their lives. Estimated 22,000 got wounded. 300,000 houses were damaged, and the double, 600,000 were destroyed. Between the rubble on the lower right, you see Lord Buddha. He was born in Nepal. And as an ecologist, I sometimes call him the first ecologist in history, because he was probably the first one to describe what he saw, and that was how everything is interrelated to the rest of the universe, and not only interrelated but interdependent as well. And that is something we are now, 2,500 years later, beginning to understand. Well, because of this, the resort was destroyed, as you can see. It was not even opened, and so very sad. It was still standing, so we had used techniques to make it more earthquake resistant, but the how you call that, the epicenter of the earthquake was exactly below this resort, so it didn't stand a chance. And at this moment, the resort is on the verge of bankruptcy, and unfortunately. And why do I tell all this? Well, there is a link with the Vajra Academy. Because of what happened to the eco-resort, the Vajra Academy got into very serious trouble. Not directly because of the earthquake, because it survived the earthquake. There was some damage, but that was peanuts. But in a few words, what happened was the chairman of the Vajra Academy was also the chairman of the Eco Resort. And he met what is called a loan shark. I had never heard of such a person, but I found this picture on the internet. Don't use loan sharks. The lending has no ending. And they are sharks. That means that they scavenge the society for vulnerable people in financial trouble. And they have money, mostly that is black money, and they come to rescue, they come to help the victim. A victim that is not clever enough to understand that if the interest rate is 19%, then you will never be able to pay back. That is how most of the people end up when they take a loan from loan sharks. The intentions of the chairman of the Vajra Academy were good. He wanted to save the Vajra Academy, and he wanted to do it by himself. That means that he didn't form us. I mean, for us, that would have been immediately clear that this would become a never-ending story. So after this, the situation got out of hand. We discovered it in 2022, that's 2 years ago, and the loan had become enormous already. And not only the Vajra Academy got into trouble because it was used as a collateral for the loan. That is the link. And the chairman thought in a matter of years, we'll get the eco-resort running and payback. But this payback never happened. And like the Vajra Academy, so many people in Nepal were victim from the same loan shark. They lost their land, they lost their houses, some of them committed suicide. Then we had to decide, what do we do now? We didn't have the money, but we thought it important to rescue the school. And why? Well, first of all, because of the quality education that is delivered there. Then the eco-friendly installations, but even more important, the curriculum, the green curriculum that is making students aware of the degradation of our environment and climate change. Because of the scholarships, because of the highly motivated and dedicated staff, and because it's the only changemaker school in Nepal to till date. And changemaker schools, what makes them different from other schools is that there is an emphasis on empathy, on creativity, on leadership and teamwork. And these are the things that are regarded as highly important in the century that we live in. Changemaker schools are the most innovative schools in the world, and you would expect them in Western countries. But so we were very proud that the Vajra Academy was also selected back in 2016. Then looking back how this could have happened, well, the loan was taken out of sight secretly. So that's how it could take a long time before things came out. It was behind the screens. And loan sharks are not controlled by the government. And Nepal is not the only country with loan sharks. I learned later on there are many developing countries that face the same problem. Rules and regulations made with grain lines that support corruption. Countries like Nepal, they cannot borrow money from the international capital markets, like for instance my country during COVID or after an earthquake. That means that citizens and companies, they cannot rely on support from the Nepali government. Then there is a lot wrong with the transparency of the bureaucratic system within Nepal. Nepal ranks 110 out of 180. Then the loan shark where I was talking about, he himself was a politician, and then you understand that the circle is round. He was making sure that he would not be controlled by any offices or whatsoever. And then if you go to court, these loan sharks have enough money to bribe the judges. Well, the last sentence on this slide that says that I have learned a lot about how things work in the world. And this is what poverty does to a country, I became aware. And in a way, we are all keeping this going. The outcome. Well, first of all, with the chairman of the Vajra Academy. His intentions also became clear from the fact that he took a lot of loans from friends, from relatives, from other banks, to be able to pay back at least the interest of the loan from the loan shark. And that way he lost all his properties, his car, and also credibility. He left Nepal with his whole family, and I don't know where he is. That is the tragic truth about this case. But we have continued, and the good news is that we have been able to save the Vajra Academy. And how did we do that? This is an incredible story. I think it might inspire other people who one day might find themselves in a similar position, and don't think too easily that this won't happen to me. That is what we thought ourselves. But what did we do? We thought the problem would be impossible to solve. But we started to be transparent about what had happened to our donors, to funds, to here in Europe, but also in Nepal. And we searched for mediators who could help us. And it appeared that they were available, not on a large scale, but you need some luck as well, of course. But we found somebody, you see him here on the right in the picture, who had the right contacts in Nepal, in politics, in a group of influential people. And he was able to press the government to take action. And our message was, this school is a wonderful school. It is a gift to Nepal. And in a way, that gift is spoiled now because of the government allowed institutions like loan sharks to come into being, not checking them, etc. So contact with the Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Finance, and finally the head of police. This way the loan shark was put under pressure. Of course he had a contract, but the contract was only partly legal, and he was forced to come down with the amount to acceptable proportions. And if he would not agree, that would mean that in the end he would have to face imprisonment. Problem was not solved at that time because we ourselves didn't have enough money to pay the remaining amount. But then very harmoniously in our network, people stood up, people who knew the Vajra Academy, and said, rather than building a new school, we prefer to save an existing school that has proven to be so effective. And I think there was less than a month to go that the school would be auctioned. If that would have taken place, then we would have lost the school. It would have been closed, maybe dismantled, maybe it would be converted into a factory or something like that. This has not happened. The good news, here you see how this loan shark was forced to sign with his fingerprints also. Okay, what can we learn from this case? Well, first of all, you can do a lot by joining hands. What we have achieved with the solar cooker project in the refugee camps, then using the concept of solar cooking in education. The idea of an eco-resort is wonderful because it would be an example of a sustainable enterprise. Well, it was not meant to be, but the idea was that after graduation from Vajra Academy, ex-students could, or graduates could start their job in the eco-resort and be inspired to start similar institutions themselves. Well, if you face serious problems that we have faced, don't think too easily that things cannot be solved. I thought that myself, but I didn't give up, even though I thought it was hopeless. It was impossible. But by being transparent, be it diplomatic, because it's a very complex story. How do you explain it to your donors, to people within the organization? That's some diplomacy is needed. What I also mentioned here is don't think easily, this won't happen to us. These things do happen, unfortunately. And the outcome is that now things turn in the right direction. We feel that our institution has been reinforced in delivering eco and climate awareness to the next generation. And now our target is to bring green education to a next level within the country of Nepal. I would like to end with the words, "Be the change." You might know them from Gandhi himself. This is, we found the text on the drawing of one of the students. Be the change you want to see in the world. This is one of the schools that we built in the mountains. Very simple school. We have built 9 schools like that. But the message is the same. On whatever level, be the change. Okay, that is my presentation. Thank you for your attention. And Luther, I haven't mentioned everything, of course, so for the remaining questions, I am available.
Oh, great. Thanks so much. That was fantastic, and I agree. It has to inspire people to know that even in the direst circumstances, you can still continue with the mission. That's just so important. I have some questions that there aren't really all that direct. They're kind of on the side, I guess you could say. The first one is I'm a big fan of solar thermal, and with the ascendancy of photovoltaic energy, it seems like the solar thermal is kind of taking a back seat. And I look at the Vajra Academy and I'm thinking to myself, I didn't see any electric power lines crossing the hills to reach it. Are there any, is there any grid in that area, electrical grid?
Yes, there is. We have some solar panels on the roof of one of the buildings, but don't forget that Nepal has a huge capacity for hydropower.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Also,
it's,
also, so yeah.
oh, I was just going to say, so then the whatever electricity is being fed in a power grid to locations, most of it is hydro, which most of us do consider about as clean as you can get for what it's generating.
Yeah, yeah, true, true.
Mhm.
And they're also vulnerable in a country like Nepal. That is what we have seen. Um, We have been investing in a hydropower station that was also damaged. So even there you see the consequences of the geological impact of the specific area.
Sure. But with regard to loan sharks, yeah, they are everywhere. Even here in the US, it's pretty much illegal for an individual to do the kind of stuff that this fellow did. But I call them the legal loan sharks, rent to own businesses, very common in inner city poor neighborhoods where you want to buy a sofa, let's say it's $200 and you don't read the fine print and it's a 50% interest or whatever. So it's by the time
Wow.
by the time you pay it off, if you do pay it off, it'll be $600,000 or $700,000. It's really a scam, and it victimizes people twice over. The other one is they call it payday lending. When you're able to get a loan based on what your pay is going to be, which is truly bizarre because you've got the pay right now and you're going to have to pay that plus how much more back later. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but people are desperate because it's like they want to get a little bit more, but they always end up with a lot less. And so, yes,
Yeah.
watch out for that sort of.
Can you
Yeah.
can you imagine you recognize it in your own country, um, and the concept of a loan is among a lot of people in Nepal is not well understood. I found out that people regard the loan as their property and they just pay the interest and it is their money. And they don't understand with 19% that you're going to lose. So they think it is, solve the problem for today and tomorrow we'll find another solution. There's another loan shark and a third one and a fourth one. So, yeah.
Now, does the academy itself, do they follow up with the students that graduate? Where are they in the world? Are they making changes? I mean, you have to believe that they are, but perhaps there are a few that might be featured. Now, this is, of course, me being so time constrained. I haven't had a chance to look up the website to see if maybe some are featured. But just curious.
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting examples. The last one is the principal from the school. His name is Udit Bhatta. He was educated by himself. He comes from a remote area, from a poor family. And he has received a job in one of the universities in the US. So from one point of view, we are very proud. He is a lecturer and he's going for his PhD, which means that, shows that he's very successful. On the other hand, we are a bit sad that he left the country. We would rather keep students within Nepal and do what they can do within in their own country. But you never know how things go. The way I look at it now is that it gives us the opportunity that someone from our own network has the possibility to extend the network into the United States. I mean, he is already giving lectures for Rotary clubs and things like that. So that is one. So he might contribute at a later phase and hopefully he will get back. His subject is geosensing. which he believes could also support agriculture within Nepal. Okay, well, let's see what comes out of that. When the children come and they go to school, etc., things might not turn out to be very easy. But okay. Then another example is very promising. One of our bright students, I was able to connect him to a Dutch company. I knew the director. He had also been volunteering for the Vajra Foundation in one of the projects, actually twice. I'm still in touch with him, and they lined up, and now the Dutch company does a lot of outsourcing to Nepal. And it started with a Dutch company, now there are German companies, US companies, UK companies, Australian companies, so that is a tremendous success. He's doing very well. And we have other examples. So I don't know all of them. Sometimes you lose contact, but now we have a new principal. Have you heard of SOS Children's Village?
No, I have not.
No, that is an INGO. They have schools around the world. Um, Also in Nepal, they have several schools. And our principal has been working 12 years for such a school. And we believe that he can do wonderful things. So we are full of energy.
Yeah, and I can imagine, I mean, if you already have hundreds, you say 500 to 1,000 that have graduated
Yeah,
already,
yeah,
and
yeah.
if say you don't know where 700 or 800 of them are, but I would conceivably most of them will have had to have gone back to their homes in Nepal, right? And started those little tiny changes that add up. You just have to think that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And some went abroad also. Some have started their own companies within Nepal. So, yeah, not all of them, of course. But because of the quality education that is delivered in Vajra Academy, um, I think 99% of all the students they graduate very successfully with very high marks. Um, so there we also see the quality that we invest into the school comes back to the graduates, and they're capable of starting their own things. It is a pity that we lost the eco resort because that was such a wonderful example that we wanted to use to inspire the people. We've had so much bad luck, but it's not only us, it is the whole country of Nepal that is facing this kind of disasters.
Sure, and I know the term ecotourism has some good connotations and some bad. I mean, I've heard of eco hotels in other countries where all of a sudden there's this stampede in an area that really maybe should just be left alone, but they want to see
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nature. Yeah, because we've removed so much of nature from our own towns and backyards, and we've homogenized the farms to the degree where we get upset when the elks and buffalo rampage through our streets, and like, what, wait a second, someone get out the gun and shoot them. It's so backwards. But to
Yeah,
know, just knowing that one particular resort was going to be self-sufficient and was not going to be it wouldn't gouge the earth there and be overrun with thousands of people. Yeah,
mm,
the vision was there. So,
yeah.
um, is there any move toward putting up another one or starting over, or is that
No,
pretty well just kind of okay? Yeah.
I'm for the time being, I'm done.
I can totally appreciate that. And but perhaps someone will, maybe
No.
one of the students will come back
Yeah,
10, 20 years and say,
yeah.
well, and maybe put it a little closer, a little further away from the earthquake epicenter area.
No, you
That's awesome.
never. The next one, you build it on the other side of the country, and then the next earthquake is over there. You never
Yes.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing is sure.
No.
So no, the somebody will buy the resort, what is left of it. I mean, there was also a bank loan, and it is not even come into operation. So that means that it is the property of the bank now. That means it is bankrupt. And what they will do with it? Well, certainly it will not become an eco resort. So what? Yeah, but I don't know what they'll do with it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, now, so how
yeah,
about for
but
you? How about for you personally? What's your next project? Yeah, I mean, you impressed me as someone who is not going to retire and sit back and go fishing the rest of your life,
I
right?
am, I am, I am retired.
Right? But you're not just fishing.
Yeah,
You're not just
no, I never liked fishing, so that's not what I'm going to do now. No, there is an interesting guy here in the Netherlands. His name is Rutger Bregman, and he's talking about moral ambition. Um, he's focusing on all those brilliant students from universities like Harvard or whatsoever. And what do? They go to the big consultant companies, they go to banks, and they sit behind their screen the whole day optimizing Excel sheets, to put it very simple way. And what do they do with their capacities? Well, this Rutger Bregman is trying to challenge these people. So you have 10,000 days, working days in your life. How do you spend them? Is it for the benefit of the world, or are you serving the capital, the world capital, or are you serving your own wallet? You just think, how would you like to, in your heart, spend your life? And this is all very new. He's created his School for Moral Ambition. I think he's written about 8 or 10 books, and they have been translated into 40 languages. And I feel very much connected to that philosophy. And look, I've been running the Vajra Academy here in the Netherlands for more than 25 years now. And when I retired last year, I had imagined to be able to put a full stop. Okay, Vajra, that's it. School is independent. Vajra Eco Resort is running. Well, that's not the case. But of course, I can count the years on one hand. So, what am I going to do next? And I think it will be something in that direction. Moral ambition.
great. Oh, that's wonderful. And it reminds me of there are a few companies in the US that they've had kind of their little offshoot uh, um, divisions to do research and development, and some of them are famous for allowing people to do their own research on whatever they want to do, and sometimes they let them go off and form their own company with their product, and in some cases that's great. In some cases it's actually maybe a little miserable. We have one in Minnesota, 3M, corporation. It was Minnesota Mining and Metallurgy, I think, back in the 40s and 50s, and just famous for innovation. Unfortunately, it was mostly with chemicals, and they're now infamous for concerns about PFAs, with a big plume in the north of the Twin Cities of these chemicals are below the ground and heading toward the drinking water and that sort of stuff. So we have to be careful what we wish for sometimes. But the one I remember Sandia Labs and how they assisted Tom Burns in putting together a way better, more efficient sun oven villager cooker, having to insulate it right, having the angles to the reflectors right, so they could cook 40 or 50 loaves of bread at a time. So I can imagine if you can tap into that creative energy of people who can crunch the numbers toward a better future. That's wonderful. That sounds great. And maybe in a year or two we will have a follow-up on that, huh? Yeah.
Who knows? Who
Yes.
knows? Yeah, you need people who are able to think big. They have to have the ambition and the capacity to really change something in the world. So, because that is what is needed now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned James Dean Conklin. I'm trying to
Yes.
imagine. I'm trying to imagine if the documentary that he is putting together would have even been possible had he not gone on that journey. And
Yeah.
worked with you, met the people that really understood the basics of change. So I'm looking forward to that film. That's one of those things where, oh, you just wish it would be out tomorrow so we could finally see it. But he does do these teaser clips on his Facebook page, and I'm learning a little bit about editing from him thanks to some of the things he posts. So, but anyway, so a success story right there, just from taking a journey and inviting people along. That's fantastic. So I really can't think of any other questions. I mean, a wonderful presentation, wonderful news, top news for me. Like I say, in the last 3-4 years, probably the top piece of news I've heard that the Academy could continue, and the lessons learned that you're sharing with people right now, just invaluable. So thank you so much. I can't think of anything else. Is there anything else you want to share, or do you probably have some stuff to go off to? Like I say, if you don't like fishing, you probably have something more productive to do.
Now, I hope I have been able to inspire people within Nepal. So within a few years, I will take my hands off the school and it will run by itself, and we'll see what happens. We'll see.
Sure.
And I really hope that if people find themselves into deep trouble, that they don't give up. I don't know how I did it. At a certain point, I thought I have to take very well care of myself, eat properly, sleep properly, don't lose myself in alcohol or drugs, or make sure that I do my physical exercises. And so that makes you more stronger, and so you can bear this tremendous weight of the impossibility, only to find out at a certain point that from very unexpected corners the help comes. If I look back, then it's really a miracle what has happened. Wonderful.
But you put the work into it that needed to be done and thought it
Yeah,
through.
that's true. It
Yeah.
was a tough job, it was hard working, but not in vain. And I wasn't sure that I would succeed. That's fair enough to say. Sometimes you don't know what the outcome will be. So
Yes. Great. Well, thanks again. We'll let you get back to
Thanks.
your life, and we'll set a date.
Thanks for the invitation.
Sure. I'll put a tickler in my calendar 2 years from today to check up on Maarten.
Okay. See you then, and thank you for the good work that you're doing, spreading
Thanks.
the word about using the energy from the sun.
Sure thing. Okay.
Okay. All the best.
You too. Take care.
Namaste. Take care.